For the last couple of months, there's been an open secret in sim racing, and over 1,500 sim racers are now taking part. And we're getting faster. It's called RACEMAKE. It's something that helps you get faster in sim racing. It's from an incredible team that includes the world's fastest gamer, James Baldwin. And I previously made a video on it where it really exposed some of my poor driving techniques that are so easy to identify within RACEMAKE. Now, RACEMAKE has recently gone from open beta to early access, and I'm partnering with RACEMAKE to make this video where I really tested the software by putting a professional driver in my rig and putting him up against James Baldwin in ACC in RACEMAKE. It's pretty extraordinary to watch. So this is a lap from Nathan Maximum, now a pro racing driver racing radicals over in America. And he's very, very quick at ACC. You can see him here on the Moser R16 system with the Asher McLaren wheel and I think the Moser CRP2 pedals at this time. And just so consistent on the exits. It's very hard for me, having raced against Nathan in real life and also in sim racing, to kind of fault what he's doing here. I mean, he's really wide on the exit, turns it in, carries a lot of speed, just nibbles the apex. He's aware of the bump on the outside, unusually doesn't have to counter steer on the exit like we all have to do because he reads that bump, goes down into the right hander. Look how much speed he carries through here, just very consistent through the corner, running wide on the exit. And again, he's going to really cut the corners here. Look at that, maximizing track limits on entry and on exit, carrying the speed. Next corner's blind here at Brands Hatch, doesn't bother him. Going to cut it, run wide on the exit, over to the right hand side, white line, nice in the curb, using the camber, running wide on the exit, not too far wide that he needs to have a counter steer moment. He's very focused, and this is going to be a lap time of a very low 1 minute 23, which is a very good time here at Brands Hatch in a Ferrari 296 GT3. So what we're going to do next is we're going to put it into RACEMAKE, and I actually recorded this live at the time. So sit back, have a listen to hopefully some incredible analysis, and let me know in the comments what you think about RACEMAKE. So we are chasing the world's fastest gamer in ACC by using telemetry. I'm here with Nathan Maximum, who's a very, very, very fast esports driver, but he's here on my rig. He doesn't really know this rig. It's all set up for me and on weird body proportions, and he's done a lap very quickly on ACC. And we're going to compare it with James Baldwin, who's in RACEMAKE. This is a new telemetry platform. James Baldwin's involved in it. He's in the AMG. He'll have been sweating loads of laps and using setup and everything. But we're going to see if we can just learn anything from the telemetry. What we like about RACEMAKE is we like just, you can see the map here. It's just a bit more intuitive. So I'm going to turn the detailed race line on. And let's have a look here for the first corner, Nathan. And you can see that James is sort of coming across a little bit. Maybe that's a different line that he's starting the lap with. Yep.
Just a slightly different approach. It's great detail. I've never seen anything like this before.
It's a bit more intuitive, I find.
Yeah, although I haven't ever used a professional telemetry reader before. I don't own one. Apart from ACC Drive, which gives me live tire telemetry. That's the only thing I go by. So to see something like this, seeing where I'm braking compared to him, I definitely see where I can improve.
So let's have a look. This is by time. There's obviously time and distance, which I would like a few little tool tips there, or ideally, but I think we want to have time, is my understanding.
Yeah.
And let's zoom out a bit. So you can see that you're braking just slightly earlier than James, but there's really not a lot in it. And then your brake traces are pretty much almost identical. You both get to 100% really quickly, and then you're a bit progressive off. That's where I'm not very good. We know at this corner for me, I'm like taking ages to get to 100% brake. Looks like you got a blip there. That might be different gearing between the Ferrari and the AMG.
Possibly.
And I'm amazed here. Look, you are both on the throttle. Essentially identical. Like, it's crazy to see.
So just to clarify,
You're the green.
white.
You're the green car. You're the green car, I believe. Which looks like a Ferrari. Yeah, because they've actually got the icons of the cars.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm the green. Yeah.
So what I'm noticing here is that period of coasting identified here.
Yep.
And that's the grey in the line. And I think coasting is so underrated in sim racing. And we talk about brake throttle. So coasting here.
And we're on the throttle.
Basically identical.
Pretty much at the same time.
But you've got a little bit of a arguably better rotate. And that might be the Ferrari rotating a little bit better. But you can see the line.
Yeah.
You do end up actually at exactly the same place with the curb. So you're both going to use the width of the track.
So he's turned in slightly earlier and gone wider on exit.
Yeah.
So that would tell me he's carried a bit more speed, whereas I've focused a bit too much on the entry and gone a bit narrower on exit. Yeah. And you can see that from the point where I've broken earlier, I'm focusing on getting the entry right.
Yeah.
Whereas he's focused on getting on carrying the speed through the corner all the way up until the exit, because he is wider on the exit. He's using more track than me, which means he's carried a bit more speed through the corner than me.
Then we come into Druids here, and again, I mean, oh my goodness me, you brake at exactly the same moment. This is esports level, by the way, and this is what it comes down to. That's pretty phenomenal to see. And then again, different blipping on the throttle. I don't know if you were stabbing the throttle or that's another blip. We can have a look at the gear changes. It doesn't look like there's there is a gear change there. Right?
Yep.
So that would explain.
Yeah, I don't ever blip the throttle myself in the corners.
And then we can see that you're a little bit longer on the brake than he is. Again, different characteristics of cars.
Yep.
And then this is a bit of throttle here. Again, MR car. You can actually see here. I love that we've got the icons now, because you can see there as you get on the power, you don't really understeer, right? Whereas in an FR car like the AMG, you would probably understeer.
Did he take a slightly narrower line into the corner? Yeah, he did, didn't he?
Ever so slightly.
Ever so slightly. So he's V'd off the corner a bit more than me, and I've carried as much speed as I can through.
This is absolutely fascinating, because you come in behind, but at this point here, you've really caught up. You've really caught up. So
that's possibly the power of a mid-engine car.
Yeah.
You know, just having that cornering speed.
And by the way, this is not I just want to be clear, like, this is not as fast as Nathan can go. This is just, we're doing this video to show you how you can use telemetry to go faster. We could sweat for ages if we wanted. So there, full power. Such a tricky corner here. Very different. You're narrower than him. Well, actually,
he prepares a lot earlier.
Yeah, the point of turning in, you're the same.
Which, you know what corner this always reminds me of? Laguna Seca turn. Do we class it as 2 or 3? So you got the hairpin.
Yeah.
Then you've got the tiny kink.
Yeah,
right.
I know exactly one. The one before the right hander under the tyre thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that corner and this corner in my head, although they're going opposite directions.
Because then you make the turning so difficult if you don't go out early.
Yeah, the concept is the same. You have to prepare that corner early.
Because he's braking more in a straight line, probably.
Yeah, so he's braking in a straight line. He's got the angle of the rear of the car better prepared than I do. So he's able to, essentially what it comes down to, carry more speed.
And again, you both brake at the same time. You both have exactly the same brake trace, which is insane. And he gets on the power very slightly earlier, doesn't he?
So it looks like he had a bit of a oversteer moment.
Look at the steering here, yeah. So is that on the... No, it's not even before the curb. It's a bit weird to have
That's probably on the throttle, because he's got on the throttle just a little bit earlier than me, and then he's had a bit of an oversteer moment.
Yeah.
So maybe he's just trying to push the rear of the car around the corner and not go as wide as I did.
He's in the AMG as well, which might be slightly more understeery there as well.
Might be, but I reckon he's got a bit... I mean, because the rear of the car is a bit lighter, it's probably easier to push the rear round on the throttle. But again, I think the main gain he got was preparing the corner better than I did.
Because from this point... Oh, actually, that arguably starts here because he's able to start moving across a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
And that
I mean, I could have, yeah.
But because he beat it off.
Yeah.
Because he's just a few steps ahead and straightening the wheel up all the way through, right?
And he did that by... It looks like he was sharper on the brakes than me.
You're talking here?
Yeah, so it looked like he jinked the wheel into the corner just a tiny bit. just to face the corner a bit more than I did, which allowed him to press the brake harder
now in a straight line,
and more in a straight line than me. So he's had a more efficient braking period than me, which means he's able to bleed off and essentially go wider mid corner, so he can cut in and prepare the next corner.
It's amazing. It's like chess. It's like at this point here, he's setting up the entry to the next corner.
Yeah.
Wow, crazy.
But again, that's him playing to the strengths and weaknesses of his car compared to my car. So you see, my car, the Ferrari, is a bit faster mid corner, whereas he's really taking advantage of corner entries and corner exits.
Yeah. And this is a longer straight than the previous straight as well. And you can see this is where he makes a little bit of a gap here.
Yes. Yeah.
And then, my goodness me, braking very close again. A little bit more brake from you at this point, I think. Maybe you felt like you needed a little bit more. He does do a bit of brake as well, actually, at this point.
At the end, yeah.
Because it's such a long corner that you want to...
It's an awkward corner, that one.
But you want the power so much earlier.
Trying to get the rotation.
But he's coasting at that time, so how do you want to rotate? Do you want to rotate on the coast or rotate on the power? Again, a bit car dependent, isn't it? I've noticed James in this car coasts a lot. This period here, right? So let's see what happens down the straight. Wow, you can't... Well, to me...
I have a bit of an oversteer moment. You can see that in the steering.
And you can actually see it on the visual as well, which is really cool. He has a slight... Every time... Because when you hit that curb, you have a slight... There's a bump.
That curb's a killer as well.
But then, because you've got on the power earlier here, again, playing to the strengths of the Ferrari.
Yeah, it's just finding a way to hold that speed down the corner, through the exit and down the straight.
And then it looks like the AMG just has a bit more top end, right? Or just goes a bit further down the straight. You can see that there. Coming into such a tricky one here, but you drove it so well, I think.
This one's a tricky corner as well.
Again, you sort of catch on the way in. I know it's a bit of concertina, but it does feel like you sort of... The car is a bit more poised on the way in.
So...
He brakes earlier.
Let me see his braking. He broke earlier.
Yeah.
And harder.
Yeah. Whereas you're more...
And bled off very quickly.
You're more trying to turn it in. Again, a period of coasting here.
Whereas I'm trying to like trail brake it in. He just wants to lose the speed and turn in. And then which I think you can do at this kind of corner because it's so banked.
Yeah.
You're kind of still going uphill and you got a bit of camber as well.
Again, he wants to get that pointed in, right? And then he's coasting until he gets on the power here. Interestingly, he doesn't get on the power fully, which is really interesting. He does 80%. Which is very technically difficult to do that. And here there's a big difference, Race. He brakes a lot earlier than you. Oh, but this is where we start to see, because he's a little bit further ahead. Yeah. So we just need to...
I think if we go distance now, at this point...
Apologies. Yeah. So you can see that on distance-wise, like the point on the track at which he broke is, again...
Is a little bit earlier than me still.
Yeah. And a little bit harder.
And how did he use that? So he broke earlier and harder, but he didn't seem to...
But he got a slightly more understeery car, perhaps, so maybe he needs to do that to match, to get the rotation.
Possibly, yeah.
But you can see, I mean, distance is good for line here, isn't it? To see the line.
Yeah.
He's also razor sort of straight line there. This bit, for me, terrifies me always. Yet to be fast, you need to go so wide, much wider than you'd think if you need to ACC. And it's such a trick. I mean, it's such a blind, tricky corner. We'll just zoom out.
Yeah.
So it's all blind. It's horrendous.
Yeah, love this. Yeah.
Leap of faith, and if you've done a good lap so far. Again, braking both very similar. Must be a blip there because different gears. And here braking, you can't really split it on the braking, can you?
No.
But at this point, it's a bit of a roller coaster, isn't it? Like it's banked as well. Like you're in the roller coaster.
Yeah, you can take a bit of curb, but too much will spit you out, and not enough will you just kill your lap.
Here's the classic oversteer moment we all get on the curb there on the exit.
Yeah.
But this is interesting because you have a step throttle. Because you start earlier, don't go full, and do a bit of a step, which is interesting. Whereas James has a bit more of a period of it's detecting coasting. I think it's detecting the coasting when it's not quite 100% maybe. So maybe it's showing a little bit more grey than we might expect. And then here, again, we see sort of like, it seems like you get a bit more rotation. Like at that point maybe.
Yeah, I'm not having to use as much brake as him because the way the car is, it's a bit more compliant in the corners.
Yeah.
I think pretty much every corner, apart from turn 2,
very similar.
He's using a bit more brake than me.
Yeah, now that again might be pedals because you've never used these are Moser CRP 2 load cell pedals. Never used them. They're set up for me. They're you haven't changed. Nathan hasn't changed any wheel rotations, any load cell settings or anything. Just gone straight on. But those are things that you might recognise that. Hang on, maybe there's a bit more brake I can get.
Yeah, if I took this home into my rig, I would be making adjustments to probably my wheel. I'd be used to my pedals, so I feel like...
What adjustments do you make to your wheel?
To be honest, I think it would be more to do with the actual Fanatec settings. I wouldn't change a rotation or anything because that's already set. But just to make sure I get the correct feeling in the car, I usually make adjustments to make sure the force feedback's not too strong. Or if I want to highlight understeer, there's settings you can use to highlight that, or curbs that you want to avoid. You can set the force feedback intensity to vibrate a bit more when you're on a really harsh curb. But all those things will help you to gauge what part of the track you can use, what part of the track you can't use. And it will help your feeling in the car when it comes to understeer and oversteer as well.
So anyway, telemetry analysis, always a lot to think about, but what you don't want to do, in my opinion, is not be able to fundamentally understand the telemetry or see it. Then that's 10% of the journey, right? 90% is actually really working on it and improving it.
A lot of it would be about stamping out bad habits. I'm sure if anyone analysed their lap compared to a pro driver, they'll be able to see what they're doing differently or wrong.
Yeah,
compared
like
to
a health
others.
check or something, isn't it?
Yeah, so you 100% you can see what you're doing wrong and see what they're doing right. It's just about, part of it is learning why. For example, when I explained that James for turn 2 just gave the wheel a little nudge towards the corner and then pressed the brake harder than me. Why did he do that? It's because he's able to use the capacity of the tyres better to slow the car down in a straight line and then take advantage of being able to turn around the corner, rather than what I did was press the brake probably 95%, but try to turn at the same time. It's not an efficient way to slow the car down.
100% braking then and then turning
in a straight line and then turning in.
But that could be completely different in, say, greasy conditions or something, when the tyre grip is different, and maybe...
Yeah, but again, that would come down to analysing the telemetry against others in the same conditions and seeing what's working for the fast guys. You can see how they're using their throttle, how they're using their brake, how they're using their steering. But for me, understanding why certain things had to be done was a big part to me improving. For example, how brake bias worked and why you want to use it in a certain way. The weight distribution, how it affects the car, and why you should use it in a certain way to get around corners faster or to get the power down faster. And I feel like that's also a big part of it, but this is it's a really good way to help you get there.
I just hope looking at telemetry just becomes a bit more normal in sim racing, because, well, telemetry is not for everyone, because it adds science to it, and some people just want to go around driving. That's absolutely fine. But if you have that, if you are, and hopefully I'm going to explain this clearly, but like, if you're a competitive person in sim racing and you want to get faster, brute force learning is like really not a good way to go about it. It's like if we tried to learn English without understanding grammar or something, I don't know, like an analogy like that. But yeah, let us know what you think. Let us know if you spotted anything telemetry or your ideas about it, and we'll see you next time.